Welcome again to another video for you guys on grammar. I know, amazing, right? This is the last grammar lesson for your module, for your chapter, for your quarter, kind of a bunch of stuff right before we get into like reviewing for your final. So you still got to know this because it's still going to be on your final. You have preterite tenses because, like I said in other videos and in class, Spanish 2 is like the year of the preterite verb or the preterite tense, aka past tense. These are still irregular verbs, but they will be irregular for a different reason. I think these might be technically a bit easier just because you don't have to remember so many new things. It's basically the endings we already know, except you have one thing to change, and only for one person. So hopefully that's not that bad. So these are called car, gar, zar verbs. They're called that because of the ending that the verb has. So we know that verbs end with AR letters, ER letters, or IR letters, right? This is something, this rule, this type of verb is only going to happen with AR letters or words, verbs, whatever, all of them, because of the specific ending to them. So if a word ends with CAR, like practicar, car, right, is at the end of it for practicar, or GAR, like jugar, like to play soccer, to play something, jugar has a GAR at the end. And if a verb has a ZAR, like almorzar, which is to eat lunch, then it falls under this category. But this is only for preterite tenses because you don't have to do this if it's just like a regular present tense that you did last year, which is why we didn't talk about them last year because you didn't have to worry about them. So these are irregular verbs, and they're literally known as like car, gar, zar verbs because they're only things that happen to words that end with either car or gar or zar. So you're still going to be using the same endings. You're still going to follow the same rules of an irregular verb, which is that they like to break certain rules, right? The two ones that were probably the most popular, as in they don't like accent rules. They like to do stem changes. That stuff still happens. But in this case, we're going to be looking at something when it comes to the form for yo. So when you talk about yourself. So that's kind of what my two little bullet points were here. So they have an irregular yo form. What that means, and you'll see it in your charts right now, is that you're still going to be following the same preterite tenses that we have been using now for like 2 modules for pretty much the whole quarter. But when it comes to the yo form, they're actually going to have a small change. So if you can see the charts, you can kind of see, there you can see them all. If you notice, nothing else in the chart changes, except of course what I highlighted, but it still follows the same rules. It still needs to have your accent in the 2 special places that they should be, except the yo form has a different spelling. The rest of them will not. So they're not like boot verbs. They're not exactly stem changers for the entire charts. They're like kind of a stem changer, but only for yo. So if it's a word that has car, so for example, like practicar, like I said, to practice something. When I talk about myself and how I practiced, for example, Spanish over the weekend or something, I change my C to the letter QU. I'm not saying I change it to QUE because we already have to change the E because it's a preterite tense and it's an AR verb, so we have to have an E with an accent. Like that's already what we did when we had regular preterite tense verbs, which is now feels like forever ago. Like the ones that don't have anything special, that don't have anything that need to be changed. So if you have a CAR ending verb, you are changing your CA. You're pretty much just your C, but you're changing, because remember AR always has to change, but you're changing that C to a QU instead. So it looks like get like the question, right? But obviously it's attached to the root of the word. So yo practiqué, for example, I practiced. Yo practiqué español ayer. I practiced Spanish yesterday. All the rest have no change. You don't have to worry about anything else there. Haste has always been the ending for tú. O, with an accent, has always been the ending for one individual, right? Not you, but another individual. Amos is still the ending for nosotros. Aaron is still the ending for a lot of people. And we don't do the middle one, of course, or the vosotros one. The second type of verb, the gar, like jugar, that we talked about to play, has still a little change. It's like I said, it's kind of like a stem changer, but it's not happening in the stem. It's just the ending that's changing here. You have a U after the letter G. So jugar, if you remember when you conjugated to play in Spanish 1 for present tense, it was a bit of a stem changer anyways. Like there was a change that happened there. So still happening something, right? Something's still going on with jugar in this case as well. It's just that you only have to change it for yo. So it becomes yo jugué. G-U-E with an accent. Yo jugué fútbol americano. I played football as an American football. All the rest of the conjugations, nothing changes. You don't have to touch them. The last one is the ZAR ending. So, same thing. You change something. In this case, the Z is what is changed because AR has to be changed no matter what. You change it to a C, and you still have your accent with an E. So, we don't have too many ZAR words that at least you've practiced a lot so far. The most popular one that you'll probably be using this chapter will be almorzar, which is to have lunch or to eat lunch. So almorcé will be when you talk about yourself having had lunch in the past. So like ayer, yesterday, yo almorcé con una sopa. I had a soup, right? That was my almuerzo. That was my lunch. All the rest, you still don't have to change anything. But if you notice, the endings are the exact same thing we've always done when it comes to AR verbs. And they do have their accents, except these are considered irregular because of that yo form. So it's technically an irregular verb because the yo does not like to follow the rules, but the rest of it is still a basic verb. So that's why they're only known as Zar verbs, because they're a type of irregular verb. But it's just not as difficult to change because you're only changing one instead. So, examples. Modelos. I gave you practicar, jugar, almorzar, the basic ones that I was telling you right now. This is what they end up looking like once you have your chart all done. I have a few practice activities with you guys for this week. And technically just kind of wrapping up your chapter in general. And then we're going to keep practicing with this and everything else for your next module, which won't really be a module. It's kind of be just like, I'll make a new module to add stuff to it, but it'll be like a review for the final module. So it will include this and it'll include old stuff as well. Hopefully this isn't too difficult. If not, when you guys hear it in class, hopefully you have a chance to answer some questions, or ask, I should say, some questions, and I can help you get those answers. So hopefully it was helpful. I will see you guys in class. Have a good one.